I'd like to welcome you to a brand new study in the book of Second Corinthians. So today is the time that we always take to do an introduction into the book. And people say, well, why do you do an introduction? Well, it's very important that you understand the background into what's being written. You know, if you don't know the background of a person, and you read their words and you don't know the situation that they're in and the situation that they're writing to, it just takes away from the real meaning of what's being said. So we take, every time that we start a new book, we take some time and we give you a little bit of background. Now, we just finished the book of First Corinthians, so our background today is only going to be one session. And so let's get started. The city of Corinth. The old city of Corinth was destroyed in 146 BC, completely destroyed by the Romans. It laid in ruins for 100 years. And then Julius Caesar came and he began to rebuild the city of Corinth. The new city had 3 harbors to it, which was part of the Mediterranean Sea. That's actually the Metoran Sea, which is part of the Mediterranean Sea. You have to look at a map to figure this out. But Corinth was a floating population. In other words, it was a population that came in and came out. A lot of commerce was taking place in the city of Corinth. The reputation of the city of Corinth was not a good one. It was a very wealthy city, but it was also a city that was known for its prostitution. It was also a city that was really known for its wickedness. In fact, there was a word that was coined, and it's Corinthianized. And it means that you've given your heart completely over to wickedness. Well, where did this word come from? It came from the name Corinth. So Corinth is a very, very pagan city. It's a very wicked city. It's got all kinds of pagan idols in it. It's got all kinds of weirdness going on in the city of Corinth. If a person was looking to plant a church, this is a city that you would really have to know from God that this is where you want to start a church, because it was a difficult city to bring the gospel to for the first time. The city of Corinth was also known for the Isthmus Games, and in the Isthmus Games, many people believe were the precursor to the Olympics. So it was a city that took great pride not only in wisdom, or so-called wisdom, but also in athletic abilities. And so let's take a look just at the book of Second Corinthians. Paul was the founder of the church in Corinth. It was during his second missionary journey that the Apostle Paul went to the city of Corinth. He's been in Athens. He didn't have very good, fruitful ministry in Athens. Now he's made his way alone to the city of Corinth. Now, one of the characteristics that we really need to consider is the Apostle Paul is traveling alone. And it appears that the Apostle Paul is weary of his travels. But he's traveling alone, and he gets to the city of Corinth. And he becomes friends with Aquila and Priscilla. They've kind of take him under their wing, and he begins to make tents, but then on the weekends he's preaching and he's bringing the gospel. So the Apostle Paul has now developed friendship in the city of Corinth, and God begins to move in the city of Corinth. Now, Paul made a quick visit. His first visit was to found the church in Corinth. He made another quick visit to Corinth from the city of Ephesus. Now, the Apostle Paul wrote 1 Corinthians from the city of Ephesus. the Apostle Paul heard that there was an interloper from Jerusalem. Now, this is not found in your Bibles, by the way. This is historical fact. That the Apostle Paul is sitting in Ephesus. He hears about an interloper from the city of Jerusalem. Now, we don't know for sure what this person was doing. It's very possible that this person was a Judaizer. In other words, someone who was trying to insert into the gospel the idea that you need to keep the Jewish law in order to be saved, in order to be in relationship with God. What exactly was happening, we don't know for sure. But the Apostle Paul jumps on a ship from Troas, and he takes the ship to Corinth. But when Paul gets there, he does not find a very welcoming presence. He is not welcome there. In fact, he just stays there just for a short time, and he flees. And he flees for his life. They are wanting to kill the Apostle Paul. Now, we can understand, was it the interloper that was trying to kill Paul and his disciples? Or was it the Roman government? Because something was happening in the Roman government where they were really ramping up the persecution of Christians. Now, the city of Corinth was a place where the Roman government had a great influence. And so the Apostle Paul flees Corinth. He writes a letter. The letter is lost. We have no idea what Paul says in the letter. Titus comes to him with the news that the city of Corinth, the church in Corinth, has repented. Oh, can you imagine? God is moving in Corinth no matter what's happening. And all of a sudden, Titus comes to Paul and says, Paul, you wouldn't believe what happened in Corinth. They've repented. They've received your letter of 1 Corinthians, and they are changing. They are repenting. So therefore, because of that, when we look at the city of Corinth and at the church in Corinth, we know that Paul now is writing to a church that has been reconciled. What's the purpose of the book? Well, first of all, it's to express Paul's thanks to the Corinthians. The 1 Corinthians was a rebuke, but then that letter found fruit in the church, and they've repented. They've come back to the Lord. Paul received word from Titus that the Corinthians had taken Paul's rebuke, and they had taken it to heart. So one of the purposes of 2 Corinthians is thankfulness. Another purpose of the book of 2 Corinthians is Paul's heart and life. Paul wanted the Corinthians to know that he loved them. He wanted them to know his feelings towards the church in Corinth. Another thing is, out of Paul's concern, we see him teaching the Corinthians about false doctrine and false teachers. So we're going to see this in our study of the book of 2 Corinthians. And another purpose of the letter was to prepare the Corinthians to take an offering. Wow, that's wild, isn't it? But Paul is preparing the Corinthians to take an offering. So the date of 1 Corinthians is 56 AD. It's written from a Macedonian province, possibly Philippi. And so Paul is writing this wonderful, wonderful book to a church that's reconciled. And that's our theme as we study through the book of 2 Corinthians. Join us now as we begin our verse-by-verse study.